In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 stupendous second grade art lessons. The first one my students are doing right now. Now, in kindergarten, students are very focused on themselves. So that happens as well in my art projects. In first grade, we make it a little bit bigger and talk about families. In second grade, gets a little wider and we're focused in on communities. So the first project that we do of the year is people in our community at work. And we do this with our school community. I create a worksheet for my students where they first select the person that they would like to use. And for this to be at a second grade reading level, I put emojis with it. So I put a little K, and then the kindergarten teachers' names are all after the letter K. There's a little emoji that looks like a golden medal with it says first placed on it. I put that in front of all the first grade teachers' names. And then I do this also for the second grade teachers' names. Then I pick all of the special area teachers and assign them an emoji. So the soccer ball and the football, those are both for our PE teachers. The Band-Aid is for our nurse, and so on. As I'm introducing this, I'll project this up on the board and go through each and every one. When they see the dragon emoji, I ask, who do you think that one's for? And then they say the name of our Chinese teacher. So I make sure that all students know what the options are, but they can add additional people. Some of the students know teachers that pull for smaller groups, or they might know the speech teacher, or they might love someone. I know at our school, the person that works in the cafeteria is a big favorite, could also be a bus driver that they add on. So we add in other people, including instructional assistants that students would like to draw. Now, they're going to be drawing it on the planning sheet, and I'm introducing this in kindergarten and first grade, how to make a shape person. I have a whole video about how I initially will teach this, but in second grade, this is kind of spiraling around that this is a review, and they're going to ultimately be creating a collage. But as they're drawing, we do this up on the board first. I'm drawing an oval shape for the head. I'm demonstrating, we need 2 shapes for our arms, 2 shapes for our legs, and reviewing all of that with students. We don't want anyone drawing themselves with little T-Rex arms. They're drawing out not only the person that works in the school, but they're drawing where does that person work? What's the setting? The library looks very different than the gym. The art room might look very different from their classrooms. So they have to show this setting and then give that person maybe something they're holding on to in their hand. Like the art teacher would be holding a paintbrush. The music teacher might be holding his guitar. So they add in those things along with what that person typically wears to school, what their hair looks like, etc. Once they've drawn that out and planned that out, in the very next class, we begin to make those people out of construction paper. Now, before the second class, I prep rectangles ahead of time and I put them into Ziploc bags so the students can gather all the pieces that they need very quickly, remembering that they're not making themselves, they're making someone else. So we decide, is that person having chocolate skin? Is it vanilla or toasted marshmallow? I do believe if you're using True construction paper, which I love, that this color is now called almond. It's no longer called tan. And I have this pre-cut so that it's very easy for students to manipulate it and get the correct size of person that we are creating. So there is a smaller rectangle. For this rectangle, we're going to take it and turn it into the oval or the head that's going to be at the top of our picture. So how I teach this to students is I have them bend down the corners because our rectangle has corners. An oval, what we need for the head, does not. So they bend down the corners, kind of like you're bending a little triangle. I tell them it's like a Hershey kiss, and they do this all the way around. Then they unfold it, and that way they're gonna have a line right there on the paper that's gonna let them know where they need to snip. So they're gonna cut off 4 little triangles, and they're not going to have an oval, right? They're gonna have a shape that is got some rough edges there. So I have them do a baby haircut. So they're not going into the middle of this shape, but they're staying on the very outside. This hand is turning like a steering wheel, and this hand is just smoothing it out. And there's gonna be the tiniest little haircut of paper that is coming off as I'm smoothing this out. You can tell them that this looks like a potato, an oval, to kind of make it fun for them to create that shape. So I show them like what my trash looks like, that little baby haircut is such a small little piece of paper. And then I show them the oval that I have left behind. Now there is a bigger size of paper inside their bag too. And this one, there are 4 of. So one of these we're not going to be folding. We're going to turn that into the stomach. So one of them, they're just going to set to this side because ultimately it's going to be that piece right there. So they set that to the side. And then the other 3, I explain this like they're a bat folding up their wings. So they have their arms out like this, and then a bat would neatly fold its wings over. So they're not holding up their paper like this because a bat's not tall. A bat is very wide. So they're going to hold the paper like this, and then they fold in, and then this one also comes in front of what they just folded. And this way, we'll have a shape that looks like this. When they open it up, there is going to be 3 panels. Now there are lines that let the students know where to cut. Once they cut these, they will get 9 rectangles. So I asked the students, what are we going to do with 9 rectangles? And of course, they're saying arms and legs, but we have to explain that that's not just going to be like little tiny legs and little T-Rex arms, but we're going to have 1, 2 for our arms. Maybe the PE teacher is throwing some baskets. 3, 4. So 4 for our arms, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for our legs. So 4, 4, that's 8. But we said there's going to be 9 rectangles. What is that extra one going to be for? The extra piece is going to be how we create our feet, which often students do a little triangle, our ears, and our neck with that 1 extra piece. And that step usually takes students a day to finish up their planning sheet from the first day and begin to lay that out on the paper. This will take 2 days where they're actually building with the construction paper for me in my hour-long classes. So in the second day, that's when I introduce how to make the hands, and I just pre-cut 2-inch by 2-inch construction paper to match the paper that we had used the first day for the skin. Each student gets 4. 2 of them are going to be cut like little French fries. So the students can just kind of snip, 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 snip till they have 5 fingers from each piece of paper. The other 2 are going to be the palm or the circle part of the hand. So the students can bend those corners down, same way that we made the oval for the head, snip those off, and then give that a baby haircut. They're then going to have a circle for the hand, and then they're going to attach the little fingers on. What I love to use for this project to decorate then is scrapbook paper from Michaels. So what I do ahead of time is I cut Michael's scrapbooking paper down to about like 4 inches by 6 inches. It's the same size as the base of the person, so that when they put this on top, it easily just makes a shirt. If they fold it up like a bat, that helps to make the arms and the legs if they're making pants or a long sleeve shirt. Now, when you're getting these, teacher discount, wait till they're on clearance. I definitely would not pay full price because these are way overpriced for what they are in the Michaels store. Also get creative. Wrapping paper works great for making clothes. My planners, because I love Lily Pulitzer, my planners are gorgeous. And like they have these beautiful end papers in them. And I just save them, and then my students have projects hanging up in the hallway where the people are wearing Lily Pulitzer clothing. And if you know me, that's just amazing to me. I just love it. We will add in wiggle eyes, of course, and details to make the person look like the person that we're creating. We're making someone else, so we're really making a big deal to the students that we need to honor that person. They picked that person for a reason, and they really need to show off that person and give us clues that it's them. So this is my example. I, of course, my favorite person that works at this school is me. So I made my hair. Again, I add wiggle eyes for the students, but because I laminated this, I just had construction paper. I've got a clue in my hand that it's me, the paintbrush. I'm wearing an art shirt. There's other clues it's me because I love my little time timer. We start that up at the beginning of every class. I've got a little color wheel easel here. I even made the ground in the art room. So students complete this. It takes, I would say, maybe 2.5 hour long classes to create this person collage. The second project that I wanted to share also fits in with that theme of community, and that is students create an architectural duck. Now, if you're looking at my example here, you might be asking yourself what that is. An architectural duck is a building that looks like on the outside what it sells on the inside. The example that students really love is like an ice cream stand that looks like an ice cream cone. It's got the shape of an ice cream cone. Or you might have seen, there's a famous one, I believe it might be in California, a donut shop that is shaped like a donut. The kids may have seen in Zootopia or in other movies. And they really resonate with this idea because they can choose something that they like. Now, I really question as to why is that called a duck? Well, apparently the very first building like this was shaped like a duck. And that was something that became one of those roadside attractions that people would stop, want to take pictures of. It increases the likelihood that someone would come and want to spend money in this building or in this store if it looks really enticing on the outside. Now, I swear I did not pick my outfit today based on sharing this project, but it certainly does work out well. Thank you, Queen of Sparkles. We are in this lesson drawing out a building that looks like on the outside what it sells on the inside. So I, of course, did an art store that looks like a crayon box. And we focus in on this lesson about drawing either block letters or bubble letters. So the students are drawing them out normal and then tracing around them and then erasing out the inside. I'm teaching them that strategy so that they can create like larger words than they have done before and words for the name of their store that they can color in. We encourage them to put things outside of their stores like mailboxes, sidewalks, doorknobs that all fit the same theme. A lot of my students like to pick something that they connect to like a pet store and name it something fun like Pets R Us, and it might be shaped like a bone. Lots of Lego stores are also popular when we do this lesson. Some kids do cupcake stores and foods that they like. There are students also that just pick a particular holiday like a Halloween or Christmas and create a store with that theme. It's a really fun way to do a community project and imagine all of these together in the same city. This next project I typically do somewhere within the third quarter. That's just how I structure my year. All the really messy things happen in the second and third quarter. We start the year out with collage, like you saw the people at work collages, and we sort of end the year with sewing and weaving projects, which we'll get to. For second grade, their large painting is to paint a community. So I have them draw this out first on a planning sheet and consider what we have to include. We have to include 2 streets or like sidewalk and a street so that we can fit all of the buildings in. And here are the requirements that I give them on their planning sheet. They have to have 4 or more houses. And a house could be like a duplex, like I live in, where 2 houses are stuck together, or condos, or apartment building. But they need to have 4 structures that are for living in, that are houses. They have to have 4 or more buildings that are not houses. So these are things like pizza stores, libraries, grocery stores, banks, fire stations, anything that they can dream up, but there needs to be 4 of those or more within their picture. So there's going to be at least 4 houses and at least 4 buildings. So there's going to be 8. That's why we need to have 2 roads to really spread this out. I have them include 3 plants or trees because this is outside, so they should be making some things that are green. And I challenge them not to do any words on their project. You know, from that duck architecture, they really got the idea of making something on the outside like it looks on the inside. So we tried to just show what was there with pictures rather than words. Painting words is really challenging, so that's one of the reasons, but also the letters would be so small, they might be really, really hard to read on this painting. So we try to give clues about what is sold there or what happens in that building from the outside. Like obviously, this is where you get your pizza, this is our art store, this is our school, and there is the ice cream store. I put all my houses on the bottom row so that students could see the difference. Now, when we're doing this, we do pause and do a painting techniques chart. So what is a painting techniques chart? I'm so glad that you asked me that. I have these over on my Teachers Pay Teachers. It is just a little chart. I have a version for my second graders and then one for my upper grades. It helps to increase their knowledge and the vocabulary of different techniques that they can use. I tell my students to think of this as a menu. Up until this point in the year, and I typically will do this lesson again like in the third quarter, students are given very direct instruction of, in this project, we're adding texture by using sgraffito, or we are outlining. And there's not a lot of different options on how we're going to be applying the paint. In this neighborhood picture is when I'm really giving them a voice and a choice of like, what do they think would work best? So we have a video that we watch so they can see how I'm applying the paint onto the paper, what kind of paintbrushes I am using. And then when they get back to their spot, there is a chart that's laminated and already filled out so they can remember and refer back to those techniques. And then they practice on their own paper. So the first one is just fill in. They're going to do that without thinking. Outlining, I make a really big deal to be like, you can outline in any color, because a lot of times we have our students outline using black because it really makes things pop, but you can outline in any color. So we talk about how you can just paint a shape here, show a little outline. Dabbing, this is going to be how they apply the paint by tapping it. This would be great if they're making a cloud, if they're making a tree. Overpainting. We do this picture over the course of probably 2.5 art classes. So on one of the first days, we might just put down a color for each building. On the second day, we might go back and add polka dots, add stripes, draw in bricks, so that we have a little bit of overpainting. It makes our picture more interesting, that the paint is layered but not mixed together. Textures. So we get smaller paintbrushes and make little dots or make little marks like grass so that they can see that by the way that we apply the paint and by the way that we choose the paintbrush, we can create different textures. And then the last one is sgraffito, where students paint with the hairs, of course, of the paintbrush. Then they turn their paintbrush upside down and they can scratch using the handle of their paintbrush. This is a great way on the community project to add addresses or to draw bricks or to make a tree bark look really rough. Now, as we are getting started on the community drawings, we do some tracing, which I think I left out when I was explaining this. I cut up a bunch of like cereal boxes into different sizes of rectangles, and that gives students a base. Some years I do explain to the students how to draw the buildings so they look a little bit more three-dimensional, and we draw this side and the top of the building just a little bit to be peeking out. In some years I don't. What I have found that's really successful is these little stencils that have different sizes of shapes. This really works great for students to not only use the cardboard and chase the outside of the building, but to use these for the windows and the doors so that they get some variety in their shape. It's really boring if all the buildings in this project look exactly the same. At the end of the neighborhood project or any painting projects where I have students doing those technique charts, I have them identify what techniques they used within their own painting. This helps to reinforce that vocabulary even more. Now, some additional lessons, because I know holiday things are so fun. For a second grade, I do a pumpkin painting lesson. This is over on my Teachers Pay Teachers. And in the wintertime, we do cardinals in the snow. This is a wonderful tie-in because the cardinal is the state bird to like almost all of the states in America. So it's a great tie-in, and the cardinals just look so wonderful in the snow. This lesson is in a video that I made with winter art lessons for the lower grade. So it kind of walks you through all the steps that you would need for that. Now, I did mention that I have a sequence throughout the school year where I kind of lay off the messes when we get to the fourth quarter. Now, one of the things that I do is paper weaving with the second graders, and I have a template that I copy on the copy machine, and this is on my Teachers Pay Teachers, and we cut that template, and then students create weaving strips. So they take 2 different pieces of just 1-inch strips of construction paper. We use hole punchers, we use what I call crazy scissors, and we make each weaving strip look very interesting, and then we weave them throughout our weaving loom. This lesson is in a separate video that I hope you'll watch next.
Tonight we're running on the right track.